On today's episode, we're going to be talking about golf fitness and how chiropractic can help take your game to the next level. So welcome to episode 2 of the Wellness Lab. I'm Dr. Nick Silveri. This is Dr. Rob Calcaterra. Today we're going to be talking about golf fitness and how chiropractic can really help your golf game go to the next level. So Dr. Rob is our expert on golf in the office. He plays a ton. He sees a lot of golfers, sees a lot of golf injuries. Dr. Rob, what are the three things that are most likely limiting your golf game?
It's usually joint mobility, muscle tightness issues, and muscle weakness.
Okay. So, you know, when Tiger Woods kind of exploded on the scene, it seemed like he kind of brought that golf fitness kind of revolution to the game of golf. Before him, everyone would basically look like your dad.
Craig Stadler.
Yeah, exactly. Craig Stadler, exactly. So it seems like the new generation that grew up watching Tiger have really taken that baton and kind of started to run with it.
They really have. Jordan Spieth, Zach Johnson, Jason Day, they're all for chiropractic, and they're all TPI guys as well.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if Jordan's a TPI guy.
Okay. So when you talk about TPI, we're talking about Titleist Performance Institute,
Yep.
and that's something that you did a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about what that is exactly.
So it's a functional movement screening, and you can find and isolate problems where there's weakness or where there's tightness and how it's going to affect your golf swing.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about all three things that Dr. Rob had just talked about that's limiting your golf game. So he and I are going to be talking about the mobility issues and joint problems that you might be having. In the next segment, Raney is going to be talking about 3 stretches that you can do on the driving range to increase your flexibility before the round.
Mm-hmm.
And then you and Dr. Mike are going to be talking about some exercises you can do
Yep.
to strengthen and add some distance to your game, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when you say golf fitness, explain to me like what all that includes really.
A lot of golf fitness, really what we're looking at overall health, we're looking at your nutrition, but we're looking at joint mobility more, and also balance between your muscles. So being able to effectively transfer weight throughout the body leads to an effective swing.
Okay, all right. And so in the office, we have a program that's called Swing Fit, where we combine chiropractic, massage, and strength, which takes care of those joint mobility issues, the muscle weakness, and also the muscle tightness. So Dr. Rob, tell me a little bit about how we go about creating a program for somebody in the office and what you do for them.
Well, everybody's a little different. So you first have to find what are their individual issues. What are the things they need to focus on?
Okay.
So we would do a full exam on them and really create a customized plan for everybody.
So each Swing Fit program is going to be different,
Yes.
depending on the person.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to give you a little idea of like what an exam looks like. It's actually a 13-point exam that we do in the office that specifically lets us know where your swing faults are. We're going to do about 5 of them today, so you can kind of give an idea of what we're looking for and what Dr. Rob does. So what do we want to start with?
So first thing, we'll do hip mobility. So what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you in like a 5-iron stance here, arms across your chest. What I want you to do is rotate the lower body without rotating the upper body.
Okay.
And with him, what we can see, he can't necessarily separate the 2 parts of the body. So when you see that, you can't necessarily get as much X factor, and you cannot generate as much power through the ball, because you want to see a separation of the pelvis, then you can rotate more through your torso.
Explain what you mean by X factor.
So X factor is where you have the hips are rotated back, but you can get the mid-back rotated more. So if everything's just moving together, we're going to come back to here and come straight forward.
Okay.
But we need to have that separation.
So that more turn we get, the more
ball speed, or I'm sorry, more club head speed.
Okay. So what's next?
So next one, we're going to do a pelvic tilt test, and with this one, we're in the same kind of stance, but what we're doing is we're trying to bring the pelvis forward and we're trying to flatten it. So we're just trying to get assess overall mobility of the pelvis and hips. With you, I mean, you're moving pretty well through this, and generally what we're going to see is people kind of moving a little bit back and forth, but you'll see shaking of the abs just because they don't have enough ab control for that movement.
So that's probably more of a strengthening issue.
Strengthening issue for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. The next one, I'll have you do toe touch.
Okay.
Now with him, he does pretty well with the toe touch test. If we weren't seeing, say we saw someone who bent to about here, what I'd want them to do is then have one foot up and see if they can then touch their foot. If that's the case, I know this is the hamstring that we're going to need to focus on more.
Okay, so we're looking for hamstring
flexibility.
There. So again, that's going to be more of a muscle tightness versus a muscle weakness issue.
Correct.
Okay. And what we got next?
So shoulder mobility test, what I want you to do is just stand with your arm at 90, and I just want you to rotate it back as far as you can without pain. That looks really good. I'm going to have you come forward on this one and back. If we were seeing significant shoulder tightness, he might get to about here and he's already feeling a restriction.
Okay.
But the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure you can have that same shoulder mobility in your golf stance.
Okay.
So same thing, golf stance here, and I want you to rotate back. And really with this one, I'm just looking for, does he have about the same motion as he had the first time?
And if I, like this one feels like it's not
feels a little tighter
as far, so what's that going to be?
That could be something as low as the hip, making it so you just can't turn in the shoulder. But with that, I mean, there would have to be a few more shoulder tests on that to really find where that.
So let's say I had some shoulder mobility issues here when I was in the golf stance. What's that going to mean for my golf swing?
It's going to mean you're going to overwork the shoulder a lot of times. Okay. So you're having muscles really tight. You can't move in the socket the way that you want to. Any sort of excess movement like that, we're talking potential tissue damage.
Okay, all right.
So the last one, we were going to do a deep squat with you.
Okay.
So I'm going to have you grab that.
How do you want me standing?
Let's see, I'll have you, right there is good.
Okay.
So hands above your head. I'll have you go ahead and do a deep squat for me. Good. And with his, he did really well on his deep squat. A lot of times what we'll see in the office, if I could see this real quick.
Oh, sure.
So what we're going to see with a lot of people is the first fault we see is people come up on their toes and their knees go forward like this. With this, they're squatting a lot with the fronts of their legs. They're really talking about knee damage on that one. Just not a proper squat mechanics. Now when we're here, if we sit down good, but we start to get lower and we start to fall forward, a lot of times that's going to go back to a shoulder mobility issue. So we might be looking at the shoulder a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I mean, the people at TPI, they'll say, if you can't properly do a deep squat, you probably shouldn't be golfing because your potential for injury is a little higher.
Okay, great. So what would you say we've been talking a lot about like how to injure things. What would you say the two most common injuries are for the?
Usually low back and shoulder issues.
Okay.
Some elbow issues, but those can also be the result of some shoulder problems.
So I see a lot of like the older guys that I golf with, we're out here at Panther Creek, so a lot of the members are, in their 40s and 50s. A lot of them have the golfer's elbow braces on. Does that normally come from shoulder issues?
It can originally stem from the shoulder issues, but after a long enough period of time of kind of beating that area up, we're going to have a muscle issue in here as well that we'll probably need to do some muscle work on, like some Graston, some myofascial release, maybe even massage with something like that.
Okay. So can you show us a couple of maybe like some swing faults or bad postures that the golfers get into, or some bad habits?
So I'll have you, let's grab this. So I have you here. So let's have you grab that in your normal setup. And a big one that we'll see a lot of times, if I can have you roll a little forward here. Good. So what you'll see right here, I should see a straight line from the hip through the spine up to the ear. And he is really rolled forward right here. When that's the case, you cannot extend through these parts of your spine. You're going to overwork the shoulder on every swing if that's the case. So over time, that can just lead to shoulder injuries just because of how much you're moving and the joint's not in its correct position.
So if I was doing this, I should be a normal swing. I'm going to be able to bring it back. I'm able to bring it back because I have that mobility in my upper back.
Exactly.
When I'm rounded, it's all arms.
Short backswing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, I would assume, decrease the power.
Lose a lot of power that way.
All right. How
So
about next?
the next one that we usually see for more low back issues is when people roll forward here. So they have this kind of curve in the back. They stick the butt out a little bit more. And in general, what they'll do is when they come through the ball, they almost thrust their hips forward at it. And that's the number one cause for low back pain a lot of times.
Okay.
Is you're just you're jamming all those joints together when you go through your follow through.
Okay. So a normal stance.
Normal posture, what I want to see, good right there. I just want to see hip, a straight line essentially from hip up to about the ear. I mean, it's not necessarily going to be perfect, but that looks pretty good right there.
Okay.
So
great. Any other tips we got for the golfers out there?
Well, I think when we do the essentially when we start going into like strength training, that's going to be one of the more beneficial things we can do.
So this is the end of the season. You know, we're in the middle of August now, or the end of August now. This is probably the time that you want to start a program to start strengthening for the next year, like during that off season.
Depending on what season you're in, really depends on what kind of exercise you should be focusing on. In season, we really want to see more mobility, flexibility, balance type things.
Gotcha.
Off season, you're 100% right. We want to focus on the strength training at that point, so that we're not kind of beating the muscles up and then just going straight to the course.
So tell the golfers out there a little bit. You know, when most people think of chiropractors, they're thinking of just spinal issues. Talk about like what you're able to help people with in the office on your end. I know that we've got massage in there to deal with the muscle tightness and exercise to deal with the weakness. But in terms of the mobility issues, how can you help them?
With the mobility issue, especially if you're having an issue, you cannot get a proper swing sequence. So there's 100 different swings. There's no perfect swing, but the big thing is you have to have an efficient swing in a proper sequence. And that's usually hips, then your torso, then your arms, then the club head. A lot of people, if they can't even rotate the hips, I mean, they're immediately losing power there, and we're just swinging like that.
Right.
It's overall, it's going to cause shoulder pains, back pains, shooting the ball all over the place.
So what are you going to do to help fix that?
So what we're going to do is essentially the first thing is finding what the problem is. Once we've identified the problem, then it's either going to be mobilize the area, strengthen the area, or just stretch the area, depending on what's going on.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, Dr. Rob. We'll see you back in the gym. We're going to take a little break, and Raney will be next.
Hi, I'm Raney. Welcome to the Fitbit of the Week. This week we're talking about golf. So today we're going to specifically talk about warming up before you ever go out and take the first swing. So it's very important to warm up and stretch before you go out, just so that you don't go out there with an injury. The most specific injuries that they normally see are with the shoulders and the low back. So that's the stretches that we're going to talk about today, have to do with the low back and the shoulder. So I have Dr. Mike here to help demonstrate with me today. So the first thing we're going to go over is just a regular squat. We're going to use our club today for most of these. So what we're going to do is put the club up on our shoulders like we're going to do a back squat. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to sit and stand as if we're doing a squat. So let's just sit and stand. So we're pressing our hips back and sitting back onto our heels so that our knees are not coming over our toes, and we're keeping our chest up just like he's doing right there. All right, go ahead and do one more. Good. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is a hamstring stretch. So this is, like it says, we're going to stretch out the hamstrings. So this, if you work out, you might recognize this as a straight leg deadlift. So what we're going to do is hold the club in front of us this time, feet about hip width apart. You're going to keep your knees at a relaxed state. You don't want to lock them out. I know I said straight leg deadlift, but just keep them relaxed. You're going to kind of bend forward, pushing your hips back. You're going to take the club down your legs just about to your knees or below your knees, and then standing right back up. You're going to feel that stretch back here on the back of your legs. So go ahead and do it one more time. And then actually, I'm going to have you stand up. I'm going to have you turn so that you're to the side. So you'll notice that he's pressing his hips back as he's going down. He's keeping his back nice and flat. So keeping your chest up a little bit, focusing on keeping your chest up. And he's not bending his knees completely. They're just kind of at a relaxed state there. And you'll feel that stretch in the back of your legs. All right, so now we're going to work on the overhead lateral bend. So for this one, we're going to put the club over our head, have your hands pretty wide, or as wide as you can go, and we're going to bend to the side. You're going to hold that there for just a couple seconds, and then you're going to go to the other side, and you're going to feel it on the opposite side that you're bending. Just like so. This is really good to help warm up the low back. So this one's really good for keeping you out of injury with the low back. So the next one, now we're going to work on the shoulder stretches. So the first one we're going to do is just chest stretch. So hold both ends in your hand. So literally both ends are in your hand like this, in the palm of your hand. You're going to press the club into the hand that is up over your head. You're gonna hold it there for a couple seconds and then you're gonna switch. So you'll notice he's gonna feel that stretch here in his chest and then through the front of his shoulder there. And like I said, just a couple seconds before you switch, or you just keep alternating back and forth, like so. All right, so the last one that we're gonna do is arm circles. So we don't need our clubs for this one, so we'll just set these over here. So for arm circles, we're just gonna put our arms out to our sides and you're just gonna start to rotate your hands, just like that. We're gonna start with small circles and gradually build to larger circles. When you get to about 10, then we're gonna stop and we're gonna go the opposite direction. Doing it the same way where you start small and then gradually getting bigger. All right, so like I was saying, you know, I would recommend doing 10 of each of them and then going back through, doing a second set of them. Just remember that stretching and warming up is very important for the game so that you don't end up getting injured somehow. But yeah, so that's this week's Fitbit and we'll see you next time.
So welcome back to the Wellness Lab. I'm here with Dr. Rob again. We're going to be talking in this segment about the strength portion of the Swing Fit program. Dr. Rob, everybody wants to be stronger on the golf course, wants to add more distance to their drive. What are 3 exercises that we can do today that anybody can really do to add some distance to their game?
So the 3 that we're going to go over today, one's called IY and T's, another one are called dumbbell squat presses or thrusters, and the third one is going to be a half kneeling torso rotation.
Okay, great. So which one are we going to do?
So the first thing we're going to do is the IYT. So what I'm going to have you do is lay face down on here, so chest on the ball. With these, you can either start with a light weight or start with no weight at all. And what we're going to do first, you're going to take, so thumbs are going to, you don't necessarily have to point the thumbs up, just kind of like that. There you go. So what we're going to do, we're just going to raise straight up. We want to keep the back straight. We don't want to overextend right here. Just keep it nice and balanced on the ball. Looks good there. So the next one, we're going to move them to the side. We're going to come up this way. There you go. And then the last one, we're actually going to turn the palms up, and then we're going to do that exact same thing. And what we're doing here is working on strengthening the mid-back and shoulders to make it so you're a little more stable through your swing. There you go. You can go ahead and stand up. So next one we're going to do are the dumbbell presses. So I'll have you go ahead and grab those for me. We're going to have the dumbbells sitting right about shoulder height. And what we're going to do, we're going to do a small squat, but then we're going to push the weight straight up. So we're working on transferring our power from our lower body to our upper body. Big things to keep in mind here is when you're doing these, I don't want to see people's knees going forward. You're really driving down with the heels and then pushing up. So good. Let's do one more of those. Good there. Okay. So then the last one, we are going to head over here. Now we're going to have this knee down here, and we're just going to grab right here, and then I'll talk you the rest of the way through this. Good. So from here, we're just going to work. We're going to pull across our body just like that. So we're trying to mimic a downswing and really working on our rotational power through our swing.
Okay.
Those look really good.
Okay. All right, so what would you say in terms of, is that something that everyone can kind of do on a regular basis? What would you prescribe?
I'd say if people were doing these like 3 times a week, where we were maybe doing a set of 10 of each of the exercises, then maybe completing a second circuit after that. If we did that like say a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think that'd be pretty good for people.
Okay, great. And you know, we have a gym here in the office that we use with the Swing Fit program. We've got a personal trainer that would be working specifically with you on the program that you need. But these are also things that can be done at home or really any gym.
Pretty much anywhere.
You know, at home you can even get the rubber bands for things like this.
Exactly.
Tied to a door handle. Okay.
Perfect.
So we're going to be actually adding all of the information that you got today on the program onto a PDF onto the WellnessLab.tv. So if you want to see the exercises that Dr. Rob just suggested or the stretches that Raney did, then just go on over to the website and you can download those.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up with the Q&A of the golf episode. First question comes from Ann in Springfield. Why does my hip hurt during my backswing?
It's gonna be a tough one to answer. The simple answer is that hip probably isn't rotating the way it should during the swing. But I mean, the real answer with that one, that's something I'd have to check out to really know for sure, because there's a number of different like muscle imbalances and things like that that we really want to find.
All right. Next question comes from Tom in Rochester. Tom was wondering, why is my front nine score always better than my back nine?
So a couple of things can come up with that. Either like if people aren't getting enough nutrition, or they can kind of almost run out of energy towards the back nine. So really making sure, not necessarily just eating a hot dog at the turn, maybe having something a little bit better than that. Or it could be an issue of like muscle endurance. So if your body is just not physically fit enough for the round, you will see performance kind of drop towards the end.
Okay. And then lastly, Ross in Chatham. His is about his brace. Is it okay to wear a brace for golfers' elbow?
Braces are okay in short term, but I mean, when you're using that, it's because something's wrong. So you really want to find out what's going on, what can we change, either stretching some muscles out a little bit differently to take pressure off the elbow. Otherwise, you have muscles that should work as that brace. So if they're not doing their job and you're wearing a brace all the time, they're not going to pick up and start doing the job they need to.
All right, that concludes the Q&A portion of this golf video podcast. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Wellness Lab. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to stay healthy throughout your pregnancy. And remember to go to wellnesslab.tv if you have any questions for us, and also to download that PDF that I mentioned earlier. We'll see you next week. To submit a question, watch a past episode, or to find out more about the Springfield Wellness Center, check us out on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or find us on Instagram. Or check out our show website at wellnesslab.tv.